What's up, everybody, and welcome back to Fireside Giants. I'm your host, Anthony Rivardo. I'm doing great. How are you doing? Today, I want to take an early look at free agency for the New York Giants and talk about the quarterback position. Now, if you didn't see it, Malik Neighbors had some comments this weekend. He's down at the Super Bowl doing some press junkets, talking to some of the different outlets out there. And while he was speaking with NBC Sports, he had a very interesting quote regarding the future of the New York Giants quarterback position. And I thought it was pretty eye-opening the way that Malik Neighbors conducted himself in some of these interviews, really placing an emphasis on his desire to learn. So if you don't know what I'm referring to, if you haven't seen these interviews or read these quotes, I'm going to read his quote about the Giants signing a bridge quarterback, and then also talk a little bit about what he had to say about Matt Stafford. But I'm not going to spend too much time on that, just briefly. So while speaking with NBC, this is what he had to say about a bridge quarterback. I would want to have a vet in there, Neighbors said, per NBC Sports. If we decide to pick a rookie, in my eye, I would want a vet to be in that same room with the rookie, teaching him some stuff. So when he's out there, he's not just out in his head thinking he has to be the savior of the team. That's a lot to put on a rookie. End of the quote. So I thought that was pretty interesting. Neighbors has been saying, or is saying, what we've all been saying. The Giants shouldn't throw a rookie right into the fire, make the rookie have to perform immediately, tell him that he needs to be the savior of this team. I want the rookie to have time to learn and grow and allow a veteran quarterback to go in there, start some games, hopefully win a few, and allow the rookie to just continue to learn and develop behind the scenes before eventually taking over as a starter. Sounds like Malik Neighbors is on the same page as me and with many of you who have commented in agreement with me on the channel in recent episodes. So on that topic, that's why I want to discuss today the top free agent quarterbacks that the Giants can consider. But I also just want to mention briefly before we get into that, there's been a lot of rumors swirling that Cooper Kupp is on the trade block. That's not a rumor. He confirmed that himself. But there's been rumors as well that maybe Matt Stafford, the Rams might blow it all up, whatever. While I don't think Matt Stafford gets traded, I really don't believe he would. Malik Neighbors has obviously, if you haven't seen it on Twitter, been tweeting the number 9 with a ram emoji. He did that back-to-back days, and he did the number 10 with a ram emoji as well. He's trying to attract Cooper Kupp and Matt Stafford over to the New York Giants. Listen, in a perfect world, sure, I would love Matt Stafford on the Giants, but it's not a perfect world. I don't think it happens. But if you go ahead and you listen to what Neighbors said to Matthew Berry of ESPN about Stafford and Kupp, the way that he discussed those two players, the amount of respect that he showed to those two players, and the way that he kind of discussed the leadership roles that they could provide to the Giants and their ability to teach and mentor Neighbors himself, really demonstrated to me that this kid has a desire to be great. Like, he really is striving for excellence here with the New York Giants. And with the New York Giants is the emphasis. He really wants to be great in New York, wants to win games here, wants to be maximized by a great quarterback and learn from a great receiver like Cooper Kupp. So I thought it was very interesting. I just want to throw that in here before we dive into the main topic of the episode and just kind of point out, man, the Giants made a great selection at number 6 overall in 2024 with Malik Neighbors. Not only is he a stud on the field, he's a stud off the field. He wants to absorb and learn and just grow from some of the greatest players in the NFL. And that's why he wants to play with Stafford and with Kupp. He really wants to learn from them. So I thought that was cool. And again, it ties into evaluating the Giants' top 3 free agent quarterback options. Now, there are going to be several quarterbacks that hit the market. Some of them we expect to hit the market. Others, maybe they come out of left field. It happens every year. In fact, there are some quarterbacks who could hit the market, not as free agents, but on the trade block. Maybe it's Stafford. I really don't think so, like I said. But Kirk Cousins very well could be on the move via trade. So there's going to be a lot of options for the New York Giants. But today, just focusing on the free agents and the top 3 that could be presented to the Giants, I'm going to go through the high-priced option that the Giants could consider, the mid-priced option that the Giants could consider, and then the lower, cheaper contract that they could sign to get a bridge potential starting quarterback in here for the 2024 season. So I'm excited to go ahead and dive into that. I'm going to start first and foremost with the high-priced option. And I know this is one that a lot of Giants fans aren't crazy about, myself included, but Sam Darnold is an option for the New York Giants if they want to spend big. And again, when you hear what Neighbors had to say, I want a veteran in here. I want somebody who has the ability to win us games. I want a guy who can teach a rookie, who can teach me. Sam Darnold, I don't know how much anybody trusts him to do all of those things, but one thing that he proved this past season is that in the right situation, he can win games. And the New York Giants might find themselves in a situation where they don't know if they're going to be able to draft a quarterback. They're picking number 3 overall. Sounds like they love Shedeur Sanders. Also sounds like they're very interested in Cam Ward. However, sounds like the same story is true for both the Titans at number 1 and the Browns at number 2. If both of those teams decide to take quarterbacks, Cam Ward and Shedeur Sanders back to back, well, what are the Giants going to do then? Now, I don't think the Giants will let that happen. I think they're sold on drafting a quarterback in the first round. I think they're going to try very hard to make sure that that does happen for them. However, there's always the unknown in the NFL, especially in the NFL draft. It's the ultimate crapshoot. So if they feel like there's only one option out there, which is what most people feel, to be a long-term starter through free agency, that option is probably Sam Darnold. And Sam Darnold's season that he just had with the Minnesota Vikings was incredibly impressive. No, he didn't put up big numbers in the playoffs. In fact, he kind of choked in many ways. But he went 14-3 as a starter for the Minnesota Vikings this season, which is great if you just take it at face value. He also threw for 4,319 yards, 35 touchdowns, and only 12 interceptions, and made his first Pro Bowl. Now, the problem with Sam Darnold is obviously long-term, can he maintain this level of play? This is the one good season that he's had in the NFL. For me, I don't think the New York Giants can bank on a player who's only had one good season because that feels too similar to what they did with Daniel Jones. Jones was very much a peak and valley kind of player through the first several seasons of his career. It ebbed and flowed. He had some high moments. He had some really low lows. And then in 2022, seemed like he kind of leveled out and had a really good season. Giants paid him as a result. Giants got burned by that contract that they handed to Daniel Jones. Same story is being written with Sam Darnold. Now, I'm not saying if the Vikings pay him that they're going to get burned by the contract the same way the Giants did when they signed Jones, because it's a different situation. But I think it's always important to note with quarterbacks, situation in many ways is everything. The Jets were the wrong situation for Sam Darnold. That's why he didn't succeed there. But the Minnesota Vikings, with Kevin O'Connell as the head coach / OC, with Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, TJ Hockenson, and a decent offensive line, that was the right situation for Darnold. Is this offense the right situation for him? With a banged-up offensive line, a head coach with his back against the wall who barely escaped being fired this offseason? I don't think so. But if the Giants feel like Sam Darnold is good enough to transcend all of that, to rise above it and elevate those around him, if you want an elevator, if you think he's an elevator, go get your elevator. But the problem is, again, number one being his career history hasn't been too promising. It's only one good year. The other problem being salary. Sam Darnold has an expected market value, according to SpotRack, of $40 million per season. He's projected to sign a 4-year, $160 million deal in free agency, which would make him the 14th highest paid quarterback in the NFL. Does that number sound familiar to you all? It should, because what did the New York Giants sign Daniel Jones to? 4 years, $160 million, $40 million average annual salary. The reason I think the New York Giants are going to steer clear of Sam Darnold is Daniel Jones. It's not Sam Darnold, it's Daniel Jones. I think they're going to have a little bit of PTSD in some ways, and I also think they're going to look at the contract that's still on their books in Jones, $22 million cap hit this season. They're going to say, I don't want to be in that situation again. And even if I really feel like Sam Darnold is good enough to earn that contract and play the whole contract out, I'm not going to take the chance. That's what I think Joe Schoen is going to think when he views Sam Darnold in free agency. I just don't think there's a chance he considers handing him that contract. Now, Pro Football Focus, on the other hand, sees him signing a shorter-term contract, 3 years, $40 million on average, $123 million in total is what they have for him, with $70 million guaranteed. Either or, if he doesn't play out the contract, you get burned badly, like the Giants did with Daniel Jones. And I don't think they want to put themselves in a situation anything similar to what they just went through with Jones. So for that reason, I don't view Sam Darnold as a legitimate option for the Giants, but I thought he was worth noting in the top 3 free agent quarterback options because he is the number one quarterback entering free agency this offseason. He is a very good player, and I think he'll continue to succeed in Minnesota if he re-signs there. But I think he would be dumb to leave the Vikings, and I think the Giants would be dumb to put themselves in a risky situation like they were just in with Daniel Jones. It's just too great of a risk, in my opinion. So before we move on to the second quarterback that I want to discuss in today's episode, I actually want to take a look over at BetUS, the sponsor of today's episode, and discuss one of the props that they have for the upcoming Super Bowl. Now, Super Bowl Sunday is going to be exciting for nearly everybody except for mainly Giants fans. I am nervous for Super Bowl Sunday. I do not want to see the Philadelphia Eagles potentially win a Super Bowl. However, I am excited to play some bets and have some fun on Super Bowl Sunday, hopefully win some money. And the bet that I like today that I want to share with you all is DeAndre Hopkins, 2+ receptions at plus 104. Plus 104 feels like good value here. I thought it would be probably a minus 110 type of bet for DeAndre Hopkins. I understand. I don't think he hit this line last week or 2 weeks ago, last time he was on the field for the Kansas City Chiefs. But the way that I'm viewing this is, firstly, he hit it consistently throughout the regular season. He mostly hit 2+ receptions. And the other aspect of this is it is the Super Bowl. Veteran experience is valuable in the Super Bowl. So DeAndre Hopkins, being a future Hall of Fame player, formerly one of the best receivers in the NFL, he's not that anymore. But his experience, I think, is going to be really valuable. And I think he at least gets 2 receptions in this game. So I'm going to go ahead and take DeAndre Hopkins 2+ receptions at plus 104 here on BetUS. I think it's a good bet to double my money basically here on one of the best players to ever play the wide receiver position in the last 20 years. So I'm going to bet on Hopkins. Again, he's not exactly what he used to be, but for 2 receptions, that's not a steep mountain to climb anyway. So I'm going ahead and taking that, guys. Make sure you do check out BetUS. It is the sportsbook with the fastest payouts in the industry. And if you go over to BetUS right now and you use code YouTube150, you'll get 150% deposit match up to $2,000 on your first deposit. So once again, go ahead and check out BetUS. Thank you to BetUS for sponsoring today's episode. Now, moving on to quarterback number 2 for this video, right here, Justin Fields. You guys have heard me talk about Justin Fields many times before. So I'm going to go ahead and give the bullet points on why I think Justin Fields is a good signing for the Giants once again here. I know many of you have heard it, so if you want to skip to quarterback number 3, go ahead. But I'm going to make a quick case for Justin Fields a second time here. To me, Justin Fields is a tools and traits, uber athletic quarterback that has never been properly coached. Coming into the NFL, we knew he was a project. In fact, the Giants, he held the 11th overall pick in 2021, the selection that was utilized to select Fields. The Bears obviously traded up. They traded a future first-round pick. That turned into Evan Neal for the Giants. It was a mess for both parties involved, unfortunately. Giants got Kadarius Toney in the first round instead. But Justin Fields went to a Chicago Bears team that was completely unfit to nurture a quarterback. Their offensive coaching was terrible. They did not have a coach that could properly put a quarterback in there to succeed. Their offensive playmakers were not good. Their offensive line was bad. The team was bad. And like I said with Sam Darnold, I think situation is everything for most quarterbacks. And unfortunately, Justin Fields was not in the right situation. Now, this last season, was he in the right situation with the Pittsburgh Steelers? You could argue that he was. He was in many ways thriving. He started 6 games for them. He went 4-2 in those games. In my opinion, and I know this is debatable, I thought the Steelers were a better team with Justin Fields on the field than they were with Russell Wilson on the field this past season. And I think that they should have rolled with Fields in the playoffs over Wilson. I understand that's tough to do. Russell Wilson's a Super Bowl champion and a future Hall of Famer. How are you going to bench him going into the playoffs with all of that experience? Experience is key, like I just said with my DeAndre Hopkins bet. However, I thought the Steelers' offense was more imposing and more dynamic and more difficult for defenses to game plan against when Justin Fields was on the field for them, mainly in part because of his legs. He threw for 1,100 yards this season. He had 5 touchdowns passing and only 1 interception in 6 games, but he added an additional 5 yards on the ground. He had a 10-1 touchdown to interception ratio, including his rushing. Now, then again, he did also fumble the ball, I think, 6 times. I'm not sure how many of those he lost. He did cough the ball up quite a bit. But those extra 289 yards and 5 touchdowns on the ground, that's dynamic. And if I think back to that 2022 season that the New York Giants made it to the playoffs, it was a successful year. Brian Daboll looked great. He called a great offense. He did really rely on Daniel Jones's mobility and his athleticism and his rushing capabilities. So if I want Brian Daboll to get a quarterback in here who fits his system, who he can probably make successful in this system, I think Justin Fields really fits that system to a T. He's a good rusher. I think he's got upside to be unlocked as a passer. He does throw a beautiful deep ball, and he's got plenty of velocity on his passes. No, he's not the most accurate. No, he doesn't read the field the best or go through his progressions. Yes, he's limited, but the upside is there. And so if you're going to bet on any of the quarterbacks in free agency to do what Sam Darnold just did, find a new situation and become a better player than they ever were, Justin Fields is my bet. I'm not saying that he's going to do it, but I think he has the best chance out of anybody. And for Justin Fields, if you're going into free agency and you're looking around, what situation makes the most sense for me? I'm looking to the New York Giants if I'm Fields because I get to throw to Malik Neighbors. Hell yeah. I get to play under Brian Daboll, guy who coached. It's not just Josh Allen, guys. Everybody says Josh Allen made Daboll. Daboll didn't make Josh Allen. Okay, sure. But Daboll has a great track record in his relationships with players. Josh Allen still loves him and speaks really highly of him, and so does every other player that's gone on and moved on from Daboll. They always speak highly of him. Daboll has a great relationship with his players. He coached Tua. He coached Jalen Hurts. Josh Allen is another one. He's been around a lot of good quarterbacks. If you're Justin Fields, you look at Brian Daboll as a guy who could potentially make you better than what you've been. And you get to throw to Malik Neighbors, who's going to make you look better than you are. Now, the offensive line is a problem, sure, but you're athletic, you're mobile, get out of the pocket, make plays. Now you've got an elite playmaker. You've got a quarterback or a coach, rather, who knows how to coach quarterbacks. And you have a GM who's aggressive and is probably going to go out there and try and bring in a weapon. So if you're Justin Fields, you're going to go to the New York Giants and hope that that's where you resurrect your career. Now, you know that they're probably going to draft a quarterback, even if they sign you, but you just hope that you do what Sam Darnold did and you play well enough to win 14 games, or even 10 would be great for the Giants, and hopefully keep that rookie off the field. And even if you don't play well enough to keep that rookie off the field, you play well enough in an audition for other teams, one of them gives you another opportunity next offseason. I think the Giants make perfect sense for Justin Fields, and I do think Justin Fields makes great sense for the New York Giants. So that's what I'm going to make the argument all throughout the offseason. Leading into free agency, we'll see whether or not the New York Giants listen, but I think Fields makes a lot of sense. And speaking of his contract, because I wanted to give contract details for everybody in this episode, SpotRack projects a 1-year, $6.4 million salary for Justin Fields. I think that's way too low and unrealistic. Pro Football Focus, on the other hand, projects a 1-year, $11 million contract for Fields. That makes sense. Sam Darnold signed a 1-year, $10 million deal this past offseason. So I do think anywhere from 1 year, 10 to 15 million makes sense for Fields. The reason I think it could push up to 15, maybe even a little bit past 15, is competition. There's going to be several teams that look at what Darnold just did and say, I want to get my next project in here. Give me a Sam Darnold-esque player. Wrong situation. Let's see if I can turn his career around. I think franchises are going to look at some of the quarterbacks in the free agency market. They're going to think the same way we think and say, Justin Fields has the best chance of doing what Darnold just did. So I'm going to try and sign him. And then as a result, I think there's going to be competition. And I think that $11 million on 1 year could turn into 12, turns into 13, 14, and maybe a team tops out and hands him a 1-year, $50 million deal. And that's fine because it's a 1-year deal. It doesn't hurt you long term. It's just one season where you're getting this guy in here to hopefully win you at least 6 games. Like, that's legitimately what you're shooting for. Maybe we win 6. Maybe we win 10. Maybe we win 3. No skin off our back. He leaves in free agency the following offseason, and we have a rookie in the fold anyway. So that's a possibility, and that's why I think Justin Fields is the perfect low-risk, high-reward player. You know it's going to be a short-term deal. You know it's going to be a cheaper deal, and you know that he could far exceed the expectations of that deal. So low risk, high reward. I love those kinds of deals. That's why I like Justin Fields more than anybody in this free agency class. However, there is a close contender behind him, and that's someone that we discussed recently on the channel, Jameis Winston. If you didn't see the quote, Jameis Winston said that he would love to play for the New York Giants, absolutely, because he wants to play for Brian Daboll. He specifically cited Daboll as a reason that he wants to be with the New York Giants. So if you guys didn't know, prior to him signing that 1 year, I believe it was $5 million contract with the Cleveland Browns last offseason, $4 million contract with the Cleveland Browns last offseason, he did meet with the New York Giants. He did have negotiations with them. Ultimately, the two sides went in a different direction. Giants signed Drew Lock. Winston goes to the Browns. And I think that we saw very clearly and evidently during the season, Winston was the better player than Drew Lock. Now, is he a massive otherworldly upgrade? No. Does he have the upside of Justin Fields? He does not. Does he have the talent and quality that's been proven of Sam Darnold? Also, probably not. But if you want a cheaper option, and again, my goal in this episode was to go with the high tier, mid tier, and low tier. If you want a low priced option for the New York Giants to just be a bridge and a locker room leader, look no further than Jameis Winston. His leadership capabilities are excellent. And also, motivation for him, because I want to think about it from both perspectives. Again, with Fields, I think Dable and some other selling points would bring him to New York. For Winston, the Big Apple, he's got a hell of a personality. He is a character, and he clearly wants to get into media one day. Go to the Big Apple, make a name for yourself there, put up some great moments, have some good moments with the media. Perhaps you can get into the media as well following your career with the New York Giants. So that's what I think Jameis Winston's motivation could be off the field. On the field, he loves Dable, wants to play for Dable, and man, he loves to take shots downfield. Who better to take shots downfield to than Malik Neighbors? So I think Winston would be very interested in the Giants. I think the Giants need a locker room leader. I think Winston can be that for them. And, he's not perfect. He throws a lot of interceptions. He had a 13 to 12 touchdown to interception ratio this past season, but he's still way better than what the Giants had in 2024. And I think that he would be more than happy to step in here, start 5 to 7 games for you, and then just hand the keys over to a rookie quarterback. And I think the New York Giants are going to draft a rookie quarterback in the first 2 rounds of the draft. So if we're going back all the way to the beginning of this episode, wrap it up perfectly, Neighbors saying he wants a veteran who can go in there and start for a while and then hand it over to a rookie. Jameis Winston makes perfect sense for what Malik Neighbors wants and what a lot of you also want as well, and what I want, a good bridge quarterback. Jacoby Brissett just did it for the New England Patriots and Drake May. Arguably, Winston just did it for the Browns with Dorian Thompson-Robinson. Dorian Thompson-Robinson just sucks, so he's not going to be the long-term future, but they basically brought Winston in to mentor, to be a leader, to win some games, or just play in some games, hand it over to Dorian Thompson-Robinson when it's all said and done. So I think he did that this past season. I think he could absolutely do it once again this upcoming season, but with the New York Giants, and it's something that I really would love to see. So I'd be happy with the other 2 options outside of Sam Darnold. That one would scare me a lot if the New York Giants signed him, but Fields or Winston, bring them home, baby. I would love these guys on the New York Giants. But that's pretty much going to wrap this up. I'm excited to see what you guys think down below in the comment section. Let me know who you think is the best free agent signing for the New York Giants at the quarterback position. What are your thoughts on Malik Neighbors' comments about signing a bridge quarterback? All of that and more. Just let me know what you think down below in the comment section. Leave a like if you enjoyed. Subscribe to the channel if you're new. Follow us on all of our social media channels at Fireside Giants. That Neighbors quote, the Jameis Winston quote, all of them have been posted there. So if you don't want to miss out on any New York Giants news and content, go to Fireside Giants, especially on Instagram. We got a great page there. I love the following that we have over there in the community that we're building. So go ahead and check us out on all of our social media channels at Fireside Giants. Make sure you check out BetUS, sponsor of today's episode. Use code YouTube150 for 150% deposit match up to $2,000. Sportsbook with the fastest payouts in the industry. Check out BetUS. That pretty much does it. I'll catch you on the next one. Have a good one, and let's go Giants.
Perfect.